Good morning and welcome back. This is World Talks coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Jastrzębska. US President Donald Trump has rejected the latest Iranian proposal to end the war, saying the delegation is asking for terms he cannot agree to. Meanwhile, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen estimates that the bloc is losing nearly 500 million euros a day as the conflict drives up fuel costs. So what comes next in the war with Iran and for global trade? To discuss, I have Andréas Hatzidiakos, Director, OPEC Europe's War Institute, joining me right now. Good morning, sir. Delighted to have you with us. So let's zoom in.
Good morning.
On what is being put on the table right now. What are some of these terms that Donald Trump cannot agree to?
Well, first of all, I want to say that Trump really needs a win, right? So now there is a ceasefire that he put on the table. And now the option is that he wants to have a maximal output from the negotiations. So what does this mean? He has blockaded the Strait of Hormuz. So it's a blockade on Iran's blockade. Why? Because he wants to put Iran in the position where they abandon the Iranian enrichment position. Not only a cap on that, not only a cap on ballistic missiles, not only a cap stop on financing the proxies, but he really wants to put a final stop, something no other president asked before, on the enriched uranium, plus taking in the US the 440 kilos of the already enriched uranium. The only problem is that on the other side, Iran cannot accept that. Why? Because the enriched uranium and the program is their insurance policy, right? So this is part of their asymmetric doctrine of defense. Arguably here, if they give it up, then they will be at the mercy of not only the US, but also Israel and any other potential regional power.
So Trump described U.S. naval actions blocking Iranian ports as being like pirates. What are the legal and geopolitical implications of that? And how effective is the U.S. blockade in pressuring Iran? And here I just wanted to mention that Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Ghalibaf, warned in a radio message that the United States had entered a new phase of the war to weaken Iran from within. And so what is your take on this?
Exactly. I mean, it's very effective. Trump went from conventional warfare to economic warfare, and it's very effective because it's crippling Iran's economy. The only problem is that on the other side, we have Iran that is quite resilient. Let's not forget that Iran has been used to being under sanction for over 40 years. So arguably now we're in the second generation or third generation of Iranians that haven't known an Iran without sanctions. So they're used to working, it's their normal working under sanctions. Yet at the same time, the regime, this is another story because the regime lives off the selling of oil and illegal exports of oil even now. So on the Iranian regime itself, it is problematic because they cannot buy anymore, they cannot produce any more missiles, they cannot produce any more defense material, and also all the revolutionary guards, they live off on these trade exports. So quite effective right now, and it's a battle, I want to say, that is going to, we have to see who is going to outlast who. Iran, arguably now, according to the specialists, has 2 to 3 months of possibility to wait until it cannot anymore sustain economically. On the other side, we have Trump that also has maybe a little less than 2 months, right? Everyone is talking about the midterms, but before the midterms, he's also he has to answer to the Congress. Today was the 60-day mark for him to ask from the Congress an authorization for war. And also, he has to answer to his public opinion. Yesterday, he was in a discussion. He was in a in a convention where he was galvanized by talking to his audience, and he already said that he won the war. But we know that this is not true. So on the one side, Iran 2-3 months, and here with Trump, maybe less.
Right. So Europe is also in this pressure cooker, so to speak. Well, of course, because the US is a large producer, it doesn't really feel the hike in oil prices as much as we do here in Europe, right? So to address the issue, Ursula von der Leyen has urged advancing the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC. What would that entail?
Well, you're right in saying that the US does not feel the same pressure as we do. They're producing oil. Their oil costs less to produce. I mean, they need for the barrel to be at $50 to break even. And on the other side, we Europeans are far more open to disruptions, right? We are facing inflations. We are also facing growth that plummets. And at the same time, the Emirates left OPEC, which could potentially be even more problematic on the long run. Why? Because the Emirates leaving the OPEC means that potentially they want to take advantage of the high prices of the oil. And on the other side, Saudi Arabia, who is the most powerful country in OPEC, is going to, as it did many times in the past, in 2014 and in 2020, do a price war where it's going to drop significantly up to $40-50 per barrel, the price, which during this crisis is going to be very complicated because we'll have, during a crisis, having a price war is going to also potentially escalate countries that will want to leave the OPEC. And if other countries leave OPEC, and I'm thinking about Kazakhstan, that is already above the quotas, well above the quotas, this is going to cripple completely OPEC, which is going to be only a forum and not a cartel anymore, setting not only the quotas but also the prices. So from our point of view, Europeans, there needs to be a solution. The problem is that even if we find a solution, this is not something that is going to take place in the short term. So the real question is, what happens now so that in 2-3 months' time, we Europeans are not going to face some real problems during our winter?
So as you've mentioned, the UAE is leaving OPEC after 60 years, and some say it's the end of the cartel, as you've just mentioned. But some others say it's a win for Trump because he has previously attacked OPEC for ripping off the rest of the world. Do you agree with this?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. I mean, it's a win for Trump. It's a win on both sides. It's a win on multiple points. Why? Because, as you mentioned earlier, the US are producing shale oil. In order to break even, they need for the barrel to be at $50. So now, since the oil is at approximately $110, you can imagine the enormous gains that Trump is going to make, right? And secondly, it's winning also on another side is by continuing to block the Strait of Hormuz. It's crippling Chinese economy, right? That is very much dependent on the oil that comes from the Gulf. Right now, they have some reserves, but in a few months' time, they will start filling this void. But most importantly, what is really preoccupying is that even though Trump is winning on short terms or potentially economically on this oil, there is a much bigger problem on the fact that the US is now seen as a power that destabilizes the Gulf, right? Since they started the war, the Gulf countries have seen that the US are not a reliable ally anymore. So this means that there is going to be a reshuffle of the security architecture in the world. So they won the US on the short term and potentially economically, but on the long term, they have fractured alliances. And this is going to be, on the long term, very problematic.
Right. I want to explore that issue of alliances a bit further, and what does the war in Iran say about the US? Because US officials have told some European countries that the deliveries of weapons are likely to be delayed, weapons that are already contracted. That's according to the Financial Times. Now, US media have also reported that the Pentagon is moving parts of a THAAD system to the Middle East from South Korea, where it was placed about 9 years ago, right? So how is this impacting American credibility? And is this likely to further exacerbate the already frail, so to speak, transatlantic partnership?
It's impacting a lot American credibility on different levels. First of all, the fact that it's relocating weapons from the Indo-Pacific into the Middle East says that the US did not plan well enough. And on that, I want to make clear that it's not the strategic planners that did not plan well, right? To attack the Middle East, to attack Iran was a political decision made by Trump. I am absolutely convinced that the strategic planners did well their job. So the first thing is that they did not plan. So this is a first credibility gap with the US. Secondly, what happens when there is a problem between China and Taiwan? This means that now the US do not have enough material in the region if something were to happen in Taiwan. So this is the second big gap that this crisis provoked. Regarding the Europeans, what you said is very interesting. We've been used to hear Trump say that Europeans are not invested, that we should invest more, that we should support the US. But and at the same time, when we are not responding yes to his requests, because we are supporting international law against, raw power that he's exhibiting in the region, he's menacing to leave NATO. He's menacing to withdraw 5,000 American troops from German soil. So a lot of threats against Europeans. But let's not forget that the US also need the Europeans. They need European bases in Europe to station their troops, because now, for example, when they have wounded soldiers from the war in Iran, they need to be go to Germany to be treated, right? So this is the first thing. And secondly, NATO is a way for Americans to sell their weapons, right? So what we need to understand, and I want to finish by that, is that this is an incredible opportunity for us Europeans. It's an opportunity for us to invest in European military budget. It's an opportunity to invest in our European industry and to focus on European strategic autonomy, not outside from NATO, but within NATO, within an European pillar in NATO. So this is what is really important now.
Andréas Hatzidiakos, thank you so very much for joining us. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.